Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to have Tattooed Summer back here today, and we are here to talk about the food industry. You're going to hear from
Yeah.
two people that are in and out of it, of what it's truly like to be in the food industry. And spoiler alert, it's not black box challenges.
It's not. It's not. You've escaped. I've never escaped it. I've been here my whole life. Yeah.
Oh, I got out. I was literally like, this is a cult and I gotta go. But Tattoo Sarah, thank you for coming back here. Before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Um, my name is Alicia. I go by Tattooed Simmer on all my socials. This is my real life. I am a kitchen manager for a living at a local restaurant in the town that I live in. I I've grown up in restaurants. My grandma owned a restaurant when I was a kid.
Mhm.
I started working for her when I was like 14 or 15. And I've stayed and I'm almost 30 now. So it's been a long time. I've been I've been in the industry for a very long time. I've never been able to escape. So so yeah, through COVID, before COVID, now the whole thing. Yeah.
I worked in the food industry before COVID. What was it like throughout the pandemic? Was it awful?
Um it had its own challenges. I think it's harder now
Hmm.
than it was before or during. Like during COVID was it was cool for me. So my restaurant is open. It's an open kitchen, so people can look at me,
Oh, okay.
ask questions, watch me cook whatever they want, right?
Yep.
So that didn't exist, right? That part of it was gone for me. I just cooked food, and it wasn't really anything different for me because I didn't interact with people,
Yeah.
right? So like I have to follow safety precautions all the time,
Hmm.
regardless of what disease the world has going on. I didn't interact with people. That's what this disease happened to be. So like it didn't really affect my life that much. It affected more the people in the front. Like we had to readjust, how we did to go orders, and a lot of the systems that we used, we had to readjust. And like because I was part of management, I had to be a part of that. But like if you were just a cook in a restaurant, like a lot of that wouldn't have affected you. You would have just kept cooking food the way you cooked food. It was more the people who have to like interact with customers that were affected by that. Um, just because everything was so crazy. Like we had to wear masks and things like that, which was difficult because it's hot.
Hmm.
But but yeah, it's harder now because I think now people were cooped up for so long that their expectations when they go places are so much higher because
Yep.
they weren't able to go anywhere for so long. And so if you don't meet those, then it's just not they're not happy and they're not satisfied. I feel like people aren't satisfied as easily.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's also it's not an industry that pays incredibly well.
No.
For the work that you have to do. It's not an easy job. I mean, I stand for at least 8 hours a day.
Hmm.
Um, and like right now, when it's 90 degrees outside, it's 125 degrees or hotter, for me. So it's not a job that people want to do, understandably. Um, some crazy people like me do. But but yeah, it's hard to find people, and that's difficult. And it's not a knock on people. I'm not one of those people that is like people don't want to work anymore. Like it's not that. It's
Mm-mm.
not an easy job that doesn't, you can't pay very well because how much are people willing to pay for a meal? You can only charge so much for a hamburger,
Hmm.
so you can pay so much money for somebody to make it. Like that's kind of also what people don't understand.
Oh, 100%. We were having this conversation. I was having this conversation last night with Ria of being like, people have this expectation of what food is like. They think food should be charged at, but they don't know how much time and effort and schooling and skill that goes in to cooking something or making something or even getting. Let's say you want to make a burger. well, are you getting a frozen patty or are you making, is it fresh meat? Because
Mhm.
that's two very different prices. If it's fresh, or is it local? And then you're at the mercy of local. And then it then goes down to, well, how much cow meat do they have right now?
Yeah.
How, yeah, right. So like there's so many factors that goes into it. They're like, why is my burger $30? Because your fucking meat prices went up, your bread costs went up, and lettuce didn't. I think lettuce went up like 300% in the pandemic. Like it was ridiculous
Well,
how expensive lettuce
yeah.
got.
So everything, and people don't understand that everything trickles down, right? So if you don't want to work in a field picking vegetables, then how do the vegetables get to the restaurant to go play? Like that's where the problem starts, right? That's why we're having a problem with sriracha because they can't get people. Like they had a bad season with the peppers, along with the fact they can't get people to pick them.
Yeah.
There's no like it's there's problems like that. They can't get people to work in warehouses for foods like food warehouses. So um that's why like in the United States for a long time during COVID there was a huge issue, like a manufacturing issue and a distribution issue. Um
Mm-hmm.
of like restaurants not being able to get the food that they needed because um
There was no workers to be able to get it, or there were
yeah,
for us it was truck drivers, so
yeah,
we
that's the
rely we
they
rely
don't.
really heavily on the states, right? So truck drivers couldn't come through if they weren't double vaccinated or anything like that, which I'm going to say on the record, y'all need to be vaccinated if you're going between country and country throughout a pandemic. Yeah, 100%. You have to do something. But the thing is that people were getting trapped at the border because they couldn't go through, and stuff was like basically going to wilt in the back of these trucks. And
Mhm.
then by the time they got to us, it was wilting, and then they were losing profits, and then profits went up. Like, I mean, inflation was insane throughout
Yeah.
the pandemic, and it still is. But you're right; it's trickle effect. It's like comes down, right? It comes down to if you're are there farmers being able to plant this? How was the season? Was there a lot of water? Or was it raining? Was it dry? Did
Yeah.
did a whole bunch of flies or pests destroy your crop? And then you have to get down to, I need someone to pick these. Okay, now I have these all in place, but I can't get a truck out here because there's a shortage supply. And it's just like insane. And then something that I never had to deal with in the food industry, and I'm so happy about, is I didn't have to deal with Uber Eats, DoorDash, skip the
We
dishes.
we don't.
No, like, see, and that's good. Like, I understand like the fast food places, like, yeah, whatever, but if it's like a nicer restaurant, like that also deteriorates the quality of the food.
It does. And people don't understand that. People get at first people were very angry. People were very angry with us during the pandemic because we didn't like they kept coming to us being like because we're like one of the most popular restaurants in town. People will stand outside for I've heard wait times of 2.5 or 3 hours for a taco. Why the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Whatever. People do it. You pay me to live. It's fine.
Yep.
So um they're like, well, why don't you just do it on DoorDash? It's like because the fees that we have to do for that,
Mm-hmm.
like, and these people that are here, standing here to eat here, are waiting 2.5 hours. If you put DoorDash orders on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
never getting anywhere.
Nope.
It's like literally not. It's not possible for us. Like if you want a to go, like we still allowed people to do to go orders, and we still do now. But if you want one, you have to call the restaurant and you have to come and get it yourself.
Yes. And also provide accurate amount of notice too, because that's something that always bothered me. Of, oh, can I get like 15 main entrees, and can I get like 6 sides? Oh, by the way, I need in 20 minutes. Okay, go. Like, you need proper time to be able to make everything.
Yeah, like I mean, they tell to go orders at our restaurant all the time that's going to be like 25 minutes, even though it's usually less. And then we have a system where like whenever we tell the front people when it's coming, they text the people. So by the time it's done, usually it's here. So um, it's never usually an issue. But then when we have a lot of people sitting and waiting in the restaurant and then we just get constant to go orders because people don't want to sit and wait anymore, then we have to tell people, okay, it's 45 minutes now, you're gonna have to wait 45 minutes now, like, and then they're like, why? And it's like because if you come here to eat, you're the priority, not
Not to go.
yeah.
To
So
go is
like
not the priority because to go, you're not, there's no further chance of an upcharge. There's no more like you can't upsell alcohol or dessert. They've already paid for their items. They've already like to go.
yeah,
And that's the beauty of customers inside. Oh, like, do you want dessert? Like, oh, do you want another one? And most times be like, yeah, like, let's do it. Like, we're out. It's a good time. Like, let's go. Or
yeah.
takeout, it's like they've already done what they
Mm-hmm.
needed to do from you and goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay.
Yeah.
I have to ask as someone who's worked in um I've worked in both front of house and back of house. You've also worked obviously both front and back. Would you have a preference of which one you like better, front or back?
I don't like people.
That's I
And,
hated being a fucking server. I hated being a server so much.
yeah.
And I did a
I
little bartending too, because I just was a skill I wanted. I fucking hated bartending. Mm-mm.
I probably bartend better than I can serve. It's just the people to me that don't understand that like humans are making your food, right?
Yes.
Humans make mistakes. So like I have never been somewhere where I thought somebody like maliciously made a mistake. Like there's a mistake in my food. I think one time I maybe asked them to fix it. I was like, I ordered chicken, not turkey, which is like a thing to re-ask for, right? If I
Yeah.
ask for tomatoes on my sandwich or off my sandwich and you bring it to me with tomatoes, I'll just take them off myself. Like I'm not gonna make you remake the whole sandwich.
Yeah.
Uh, that's just me. But I just couldn't put a smile on like that. Like my grandma made me do it when I was younger, just so I knew,
Yeah.
you know, what it's like to be a server. But then I've since chosen not not to do. I haven't done it in many years. I did it um when I was in high school for my internship. Like I had to do
Okay.
at the restaurant that I work at. So like I know how to run our POS system and stuff like that at the restaurant that I work at, but I don't do it ever.
No,
They don't want
like I don't
to.
I would never want to go back. The only like way I would want to go back and be a server if it was like at a fun, cool little niche place that had like very niche things that like you wanted to come here. You weren't just like this, you weren't like Joe Blow off the street.
Hmm.
The reason I like to ask is I have a hard time trusting anybody who's never worked in the food industry because that's literally our war stories. Like
Hmm.
we didn't go to war. We worked in the food industry. And it's like, were you in the back of house? Were you in the front of house? Were you a bartender? Were you a bar back? Were you a busboy? Like, were you a dishwasher? Like, it's just like it's stuff like that. Like I can sit and people will be like, oh, I've seen a lot of shit in my life.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
the I've been at the place I work at for I think it'll be 7 years in October.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean that's a while. Like
Oh,
I've seen so many people.
for the food industry, that's like 50 years at one place. It's a long time.
it's been 1,000 years. Yeah. So I started there when I was 21.
Okay.
Um, and I was the only female that worked there.
Mm.
That I mean, it's a very male-dominated industry, anyways.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
But so I was working at a restaurant that was like on campus on my university.
Okay.
Um, but I was just irritated because like it's you're paid by the state, so you only had like certain opportunities to like get raises, and like I was only making like $8.60. Like it was just not enough.
Mhm.
Um, and a girl who worked the front of house there, her husband was one of the managers at the restaurant that I work at. So I was like, do they need help over here? Because I'm over here. I had already been at that place for like 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and she was like, yeah, you can go talk to him, whatever. So I went over there and talked to him. I came in as like the only female with, I mean, there might have been some people in there that were like 19 or 20, but I was like one of the youngest And I was a woman and I was not taken seriously at all. Um, and then I think my first day I had to do dishes, which is usually kind of what happens
Yep.
in the back. So I did the dishes and everyone was like, "Oh, you actually know how to do this." And people think doing the dishes is easy. Well, it
Mm-mm.
is. It can be and it cannot be. It depends on how busy you are.
Yep.
So the restaurant I work for is like super unique. It's two different concepts in one.
Yeah.
One side is like hamburgers, french fries, that sort of style food. And then we have like our dish room, prep room in the middle. And then the other side is like street tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like a whole different restaurant. Like you can't order stuff from one side on the other side. It's like two separate
Yeah, it's
operations.
two, yeah, church and
Yeah.
state. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just prep food for like for both sides. So you're washing dishes for two different restaurants,
Yeah.
essentially. And you have to separate some of them and whatever. So it's not an easy job. And I went back there and I did it and I didn't need anybody's help and I got done at an appropriate time. People were like, "Oh, you actually don't mess around." And I was like, "No." And then they let me cook pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I didn't really like once I learned what the menu was, which was like a couple days, then it wasn't hard for me to do that either because I've been doing it for so many years already.
Yeah.
But that constant like having to prove that I was, even though I'm a 21-year-old female, I can still
Mm-hmm.
do the same thing that you guys do.
Yep.
But still I wasn't, I mean, I went through school. I went to school for hospitality, not like culinary school.
Yep.
Um, so I went through school for hospitality, and then when I graduated, they made me a manager, and the boss that I had there at the time had a lot of issues,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't get along. And at one point, I just like walked out. I said,
Yeah.
"I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not going to be here and be in charge of all these people as a 21-year-old when you're just doing God knows what all like you're never here. What are you getting paid salary to never be here for?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the dude who was kind of like under him at one point he asked me, he was like, "What would it take to get you to come back?" And I was like, "It would take him to leave." And at that point in time he was like he like owned shares of the company, so like to get him to be bought out was going to be like a
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. And then it was like, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe less, um when they bought his shares and like parted ways with him because it just like wasn't working out. And then I eventually like went back to work there and like I started out as a cook again, but like got my position back eventually. But but yeah, since then it's been fine. But it's not an easy industry to work in, especially as women. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just don't like people don't care.
They definitely don't care. So the first restaurant I ever worked in was a fine dining restaurant called Pazzles in Stratford. I go back to Pazzles all the time. Every time I'm in Stratford, just to say this is where like my first ever restaurant was.
Mhm.
Um, so because like you're a culinary kid, like they get dispersed and like go around to all the culinary restaurants in the area because it's partnership programs, right? And I
Mhm.
remember being like, the guy came up to me. He's like, just because you just graduated culinary school doesn't mean you know shit. You know nothing. You're gonna wash dishes. And I was like, well, no shit, I'm gonna wash fucking dishes. It's like my first goddamn day. And I
Yeah.
remember the guy, I was like, so I was washing and organizing, and the fucking dudes kept putting knives in the sink. I was like, hey, stop putting knives in the sink. I can't fucking see there's knives in here, and these knives are sharp.
Yeah.
I think I don't think you can see the scar. Somebody put a knife up really high on at the top of something. It was like on a plate. And I grabbed the plate and the knife came down and like cut me right here. And I tell people that story, they're like, that's impossible. I'm like, if this is a meat cutting knife that cuts through bone and it falls at a trajectory, yeah, it's pretty possible that I had to go get stitches along here because the knife fell.
Or like, I yell at people all the time when they like unscrew cans.
Oh
They'll
my God. Yep.
can the trash can. And I was like, I've seen someone slice their leg like almost in half, taking the trash out
Yep. Oh,
because you didn't put the lid back in the can.
yes. Oh my God. Sorry.
And,
Oh,
and it's just not, and people are like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, no, okay,
no, no.
well, cut your leg on the thing and then you tell me it's not a big deal. And workers' comp is not paying for it.
Nope.
Like,
Oh, sorry. Not that it's happened to me that it's not cut through my pants, but it's like it's cut through my pants, but not to my leg. Of like, I didn't realize it because
mhm,
they always gave me garbage duty. Like, fuck off. I'm like 5 feet tall, and they'd be like
yeah,
20 fucking giant bags of garbage to throw out. And they'd be like, come on, Jen, earn your spot. And I'd be like, okay. And I'd be like dragging shit out, and they'd be like, can't, and I'd be like having because you have to wear your industrial thick pants, right? And I remember I was like, the fuck is the breeze I'm feeling on my leg? And I looked down and it had gone through my pants. And I was like, oh my God. And I walked back in and I'm like, dude, like there's a fucking can. Like, can we not, like, can we
yeah.
practice safety? Like, I've had a 3rd-degree burn right here. Oh, I had a deep fryer basket touch my hand.
Oh, I mean, it's
It's
constant.
hard. I
Remember
don't have,
somebody told me about like manicures, and I was like, I
yeah,
don't get them. And
no,
I said, what's the point? There's just no. It's like you should really see my hands. It's really bad. I could not be a hand model. It's
no.
nasty.
I was gonna say, what's chef to chef? What do you do for your calluses on your fingers? Because I just let them go. Like my knife
Yeah.
calluses from cutting. Oh my God. Especially in
Mm.
the winter when it gets really dry here. They hurt. My hands hurt.
Yeah, I don't. One time, I don't remember. We have a salamander, right? And so I'll just
Mhm.
we'll put plates out there to melt the cheese, and I'll just take the plates and I'll put it like I'll drag them out and I'll put it on the other plate, and the
Yep.
waitresses barely carry the plate underneath of it because they think that's hot. And they're like, "How do you pull the plates out of there?" And at one point, I held my hand out and I said, "Touch my fingertips."
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh my God, your hands are so rough." And I said, "Yeah, that they're
Yeah.
just I don't feel anything anymore. It's just that's the way because I flip tortillas on the flat top just with my hands. I don't they're bad. Yeah.
because
My
because they're so calloused and so burned. I'm
yeah.
convinced that like I don't have fingertips, like I don't have fingerprints anymore. I'm pretty confident in that like if chefs want to commit a crime, we easily can because we have no fingerprints. I'll just like grab something like out of the toaster oven without oven mitts, and Jason's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "It's fine." He touches like, "Oh, it's hot," and I'm like, "Is it?"
One time it was my best friend's wedding. I woke up so hungover
Yeah.
and I went to the Keurig and I was just standing there like just a vulture ready for someone else's to be done so I could start my coffee. And as soon as it stopped, I opened it up, took the thing out, threw it in the trash, and started mine. And the lady was like, "That's probably hot." And I said, "For you." I
Oh my God.
was just so hungover. I was like, "Please, I just need coffee. Please don't talk to me."
Oh my God. But I think, okay, so especially in the like the industry, like in the cooking industry, like I am not a caffeine person, but I had a hard time staying awake for long periods of day at the time. Also, something that's not really talked about in the food industry is substance abuse.
Mhm,
You're either drunk, you're a functioning alcoholic or you're a functioning drug addict. I don't know
yep.
how many times I would have the management team doing lines of cocaine between shifts of being like, okay, like let's go. Like we're good to go for the rest of the day. And I'd be like, Jesus Christ. Like it's a huge eye opener to see that to expect a human to work 15, 16, 17-hour days, like you have to have some form of a substance to get you through. And a
Hmm.
lot of like, I worked with a chef once. I won't say the name because that's not the name game, but he would have a flask in his pocket. So you'd have a tiny flask, um, and his thermometer, and then when no one was looking, he would just like float his flask, and he would notoriously keep filling up his whiskey, uh, his flask with whiskey like all night long.
It's and it can get. I worked okay. So in the
Yeah,
break that in between when I wasn't at my job, I
yeah,
was at a breakfast restaurant.
yeah,
Keep that in mind. We're open from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 3 or whatever.
yeah.
Uh, the man who owned that when I started there, had gotten sober, had been sober for a minute. I don't know what happened when the relapse happened,
Mhm.
but after that, it was like the monster can like I had heard about what he was like, but then when I started there, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And then when the relapse happened, that's when it started again. And I was working there and at a liquor store. So I would literally leave my job working there and then I would go stand at a liquor store. I didn't have time to eat. Like I would take my food from my job,
Yeah.
eat it way to my other job, and then, go home and sleep and do it again the next day.
Yeah.
So um it was like a super busy day. And I had already like I'd made my food, I had paid for it. And so I'm walking out the door with a box like 10 or 15 minutes after my shift was supposed to end. And I had to leave because I had to go to my next job. And he comes out the door like screaming at me. And he was like, "What are you doing just taking food?" I was like, "I paid for this. You can go look at the receipts."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, we still have stuff to clean up." I was like, "I've been here for 15 minutes past what I'm supposed to be. And Caleb knows, like, our kitchen manager knows that I have another job. Like, I would stay if I didn't have somewhere else to be.
Mhm.
But like I have to go somewhere else." And then he just like kept yelling, and then he just like kept going the next day. And I was like, "Dude, no, like I'm not dealing with this." And
Mhm.
then so I just like quit there and I picked up more hours at the liquor store. And then it was maybe a year or so later
Mhm.
that he passed away of a heart attack.
Yep.
And you know, I still go to that restaurant all the time. It's the best breakfast restaurant in town. It's amazing. His wife after that sold it to um basically her right hand woman,
Yeah.
uh, and her husband. They're the ones that own it now, and she was like always such a nice one. Like I loved her; she was amazing. But the day that he passed, I heard that he had gone through an entire 750 bottle of Jameson
Yep.
before noon.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Being a pastry chef, you got to start at the fucking crack of ass. I would have my chef wasted by 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was common. I'd be shocked if he actually made it to 9 a.m. sober. And it's really sad. Because a lot of people are like, oh, like I don't understand how chefs will kill themselves if they lose a Michelin star. The restaurant is their life. The
Mhm.
restaurant is everything to them. And that's what I tell everybody. If you want to get into the food industry, I want you to watch the menu. It's on Disney Plus. Holy shit, this is what it's like to be in the food industry. It's awful to an extent of if you want to make money, you have to basically serve to the rich only. And by then the rich don't actually give a shit what they're
Mm-mm.
eating because it's just, oh, it's like food. I recommend everybody watch the menu on Disney Plus. I've seen it like 20 times. Also, the cheeseburger they make at the end of it is phenomenal. I make that cheeseburger all the time now because it's a classic way to make cheeseburgers. But yeah, I've had a very good and bad experience. I had more of the good side when I was doing it for myself at like a home bakery
Mhm.
versus an industrial bakery where you're expected long hours, no creativity. There's
No.
nothing
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do. If I have to make 600 cupcakes today, I got to make 600 cupcakes and there's 600 strawberries. I can't do, oh, can we do 600 strawberry creams and some Oreos and I have like this like we bought like a strawberry chocolate cheesecake. They're like, it's a strawberry cream. Fucking follow orders and go. You
Yeah.
also have to have the thickest of skins.
Hmm.
Like at work, everyone thinks I'm sensitive. I'm like, I've been in the food industry for a long time and I'm a content creator. You're gonna have to
Well,
throw a
uh,
lot more around before I'm like, oh my god, like I'm offended.
well, it's funny too. I like tell people in the Sim, everyone in the Sims community, it's like, "You're so nice, you're so sweet, you're so nice." I'm like, "Okay, guys, listen. So the job that I have for real, I've had for a very long time, and like you said, everyone has their poison, right? So you pick one.
Yep.
And I used to have like a huge problem with alcohol. Like I remember that I would get off work, go home, change in like half an hour, come back, And it was like I would have to do my like all day's worth of drinking in like the 2 hours I had. So I would drink like
Mhm.
5 mixed drinks and probably have 5 or 7 shots in 2 hours,
Yep.
and then like go home and continue until 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I would sleep all day, go back to work at night. Now I still have the same schedule. I still work from 3 p.m. until midnight. Um, but I have a son, so I can't. I could drink all day. Some people might, but I don't.
Mhm.
But my vice is The Sims. Like that's what I come home and do, and it's like I come home and I sit and I do that, and it's quiet, and that's why I'm a different person on the internet than because I can't be yelling. I can't be yelling all day. Like that's
No.
exhausting. So
Mhm.
so it's just like that's why I'm a different person online, is because it's just I spend my whole day trying
Screaming.
to hurt people, or not yelling at people, but you just have to yell because it's so loud all the time.
It's annoying.
Um, that it's just like I just need something to, so and I had to figure myself out a lot too in order to stay there. Like
Mhm.
there were points where I left and I got out, but like I know that I'm not somebody who gets easily addicted to things. Like my best friend in the whole world grew up in foster care, and her parents are and were had a very addictive tendencies, and she does also. Like she cannot have more than one drink when we go out. Like
Mhm.
when she turned 21, it got to be a huge problem. And then after that, she told me like I can only have one drink when we go out. It's like, okay, cool. Like like if she feels more than the buzz, then she can't stop it.
Yep.
Right. So I've never been like that. And it was like when I had my son, I was just like, you know what, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm almost 30. Like I can't. I'm too old. I can't live like this anymore. It's exhausting. But still, it's such a hard job that I have to have some sort of vice. So I just choose a healthier one. Like I'm
Mhm.
still addicted to The Sims. It's just not. It's
It's
just
not
not.
a negative.
Then I right.
Oh, 100%. That was something I had to. I knew being a former addict that I couldn't be
And that's
in that situation of being around drugs and alcohol that much. I mean, alcohol was not always the problem, but drugs, especially
mhm.
the drugs that I would like to take,
If
are
you're offered,
there.
say
If
yes. You
if they're
can't.
offered, I
Yeah.
almost relapsed once in my 20s. It was my 23rd birthday. I said no because I'm not that person anymore, and I just left my birthday party because
Hmm.
I was like, I'm not a drug addict. Like I've been now sober for 5 years. It will be 12 years in 1 month today that I've been sober of hard drugs.
Yeah.
So it's a huge thing of being like, oh, okay, like this is just openly accepted of being okay, of
Mm.
being under the influence while you're cooking. And I tell people that they're like, that you're making that up. I'm like, no, no, no. I have to ask, have you ever cried in the freezer? Because I have.
Um. We don't have in our place. We don't have like a huge walk-in freezer. We have a fridge.
Okay.
Or like we have like a beer cooler in the fridge, which is like way back in the back. A lot of people go back there. That's like the crying fridge is like the beer cooler.
Yeah. Well, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me, they're like, "Hey Jen, what are walk-in freezers for at restaurants?" I was like, having sex and crying. Those are your two
and, and
options. Yes. Oh, and drugs, that too. Your three options.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Have you
If you ever see somebody go into a walk-in and shut the door, don't go in there.
Yeah, don't
Like
go
if
in there.
they go in there and they leave the door open, that means they're going to get something and they'll be right back out. If they go in there and they shut the door, just don't go in there.
Okay, has anyone ever had sex in your deep free your like anywhere at
Oh yeah.
work? Yeah.
Yeah, it was before it was well, it was before, we had a lot more problems before I started working there. I started when the problems were like winding down.
Yeah.
Um they've kind of gotten under control now, and I don't know how or why. Maybe the owners were younger at the time too. I don't really know. But the first so I started at my restaurant and this was like right before I started this, somebody got fired for drinking after hours, and then they got caught by the police. Like somebody was
Mm.
having to walk in, they were all downstairs drinking. Like it was craziness. But I started like the end of October, and then like the end of November, we had a Christmas party um at a bar that the owner also owned.
Yeah.
And after that, we were no longer allowed to have Christmas parties there. Because somebody like at one point somebody just like threw up all over the table downstairs.
Mm.
Somebody just like peed all over the bathroom upstairs. Somebody got into a fight and like somebody's girlfriend got in the way and she got punched in the face. One of the other owners was so hammered, he found out that I was the girl that lived on his street with the corgi. Like, he also has corgis, and he kissed me on the mouth. And then his wife just stared at him like, "What are you doing?" It was just a total shit show. And then the next Christmas party, um, my boss that I have now, the girl he was seeing at the time, they'd just broken up, and she brought a new boyfriend to the Christmas party, and I had to stop him from punching that dude in the face. And my husband now wasn't my husband at the. I mean, we weren't even dating at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was there with his girlfriend, who I hated because she was trash, and I was just like not about it either. It's just there's just like that's why people make television shows about it, because it's just
Yes.
a nonstop storm of
Of
drama.
oh,
Yeah,
100%. That's why I originally like Sir, because I was like, this is real. Everybody's sleeping with everybody, everybody's fighting with everybody, and so there's always a fight, and some dude has his shirt off at the end of a fucking party wanting to punch somebody. Like, it is so toxic, it's insane, but it's drama fueled. Like, that's all it is. It's
yeah.
just like, oh my god. That's
I
why
I think now maybe at my restaurant it's better because all of us are still there and we're old now. So like
yeah.
we were, in our 20s at the time. Um, but like of our kitchen managers, there's five of us. And all but one of us has been there the entire time I've been there, if not
Yeah.
longer. Like my husband's been there a little bit longer than me. Another dude's been there like 3 or 4 years longer than, so we've all been there for like 6 years. Um, Two of the front of house managers started around the same time I did, so they've been there for like 5 or 6 years. So we've all gotten to a point where we're just like we're done. Like you guys, like the younger ones who like
Mhm.
rotate out, we're like, y'all can interact with each other and be about that life and the drama, but we're too old for that now. Like we
But I
can't do
think
it. We're
I think
tired.
that's I think that's true though, because like in a restaurant you have your cliques, the people that have seen like fucking Warren back and are like, okay, like you have your ride or dies when you work in the food industry, and they
Mhm.
will make or break you if you are not working with your ride and die, and it's a fucking shitty Saturday night, everyone's called in sick, it's a full house, and you're just like, I want to die, and you just look over your ride and die, you're like, we're gonna do this together, right? We're gonna sink or swim. Like, that makes or breaks a shift, is your ride
Yeah,
and
that's
dies.
like right. It was a Friday night. We don't have that many people right now because we have students a lot because I live in a college town.
Yeah.
Um, so it was just me and my husband yesterday. That was it.
Oh.
Usually we have like 3 or 4 people, but it was just me and my husband on one of the sides. Uh,
Oh my
yeah, we didn't
god.
take a break the entire time because we were like, no, we're not interrupting this. Just we're just gonna do it. And so yeah, there's like it's like my husband and then like the one other guy who was the one that taught me how to do
Mm.
everything. Like the only two people that I can like do that with really, or it's a total shit show.
Oh my god. I couldn't I'm convinced, like I said at the top of this, the food industry is a cult. Okay. Once you're in, you're in. Like you because then anyone will hire you. You're like, oh, you worked
Mhm.
here, 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 and here, and here. Perfect. Like you usually stay in. I got out. I don't think I'd ever go back unless it was like my own place. Like if I
Right.
if I won the lottery, I would open. Okay, this is what I would open up a movie theater, like a small independent movie theater, and then I would sell like popcorn, but I would also sell like baked goods and sandwiches and stuff at the same time. I understand that's not like the perfect niche, but to me that's perfect. Of like
Yeah.
seeing a movie, having a grilled cheese sandwich and a cupcake or something like on the lines of that. Like that is like for like something I would like.
Mhm.
But I couldn't just go back to like pick a fucking restaurant here and go make scones every day for a living or go make 600-700 cupcakes for a living. Like I'm too fucking old to be standing for like 9 to 10 hours anymore of just being like or I get sick quite frequent. I feel like is a cold going around. This girl's got it. And I hate it just like I gotta wear masks. I feel like garbage. Can I just like I like the option of working from home if I have to.
Yeah.
I'm greedy. I absolutely love it. I love being able to work from home. And that's why I'm like, I could never go back and just deal with the bullshit of young staff of being like, oh my God, like somebody once told me they couldn't come into work because Stassi stole her crop top and she was going to Justin's house after and that was his favorite crop top and she was hoping that he would finally sleep with her if he wore it. She wore it, so she couldn't come to work. Like it's just bullshit like that. I'm like
We
I
had to
literally
do just not come in because he wasn't in the headspace to be around other people.
yep.
Okay. Well, then this isn't the job for you. Like I understand that concept, right? I'm not saying it's a valid point. But it's not what's going on here right now, right now. And I think I'm worse. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm not the person to complain about because I did this until like 3 weeks before I had my son.
Yeah.
So I worked on my feet for 9 or 10 hours and I called out sick one time.
Yeah.
With my son one time. So I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sorry, I don't. Like
And
I would
like
make a nurse because I'd be like, what's your issue? I don't care.
oh, I'm the same way. I'm like, no, like come in, figure it out. Or like, yeah, I just can't. I'd be like, okay, awesome. Do not be in the food industry. You need to be here. Unfortunately, that's what it is. Like for like if I didn't go to work on Monday, the place would run without me. But in
Mhm.
the kitchen, if you have a small kitchen and you're down like 2 people, your kitchen's not gonna run. Like you're going to run into problems.
Yeah, they joke with me. So like we ran into because of COVID, we ran into a manufacturing issue with a Melba sauce that we would order for this raz salsa that we put in a bean dip, which is like our signature dish. That's what we sell the most of. It's what we literally joke about is what pays our salaries, right?
Yeah.
So couldn't do that. The lady who came up with the concept for the restaurant, she's like an owner, but she's silent, like you rarely see her. She made it from scratch and then taught me how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the only one that knows how to do it. So I had to do it for months, like 6 months or something like that, until we like got to work with a distribution company like locally to like do the recipe and like for them to manufacture it and send it to us. Well, they haven't been keeping up with the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I still have to do it. I'm the only one that knows how to do it, right? So I'm like, you guys, it's like, this is cool. I got a job security. You guys literally can't fire me because then nobody, I mean, you would have to teach somebody else how to do it, but you're not going to. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean that is the beauty of job security of like being the one person. So like at the bakery I worked at the longest, which was called the Bird's Nest, I was their airbrush technician for cakes. That's
Mm-hmm.
a very specific niche, and I'm really good at
Yeah.
airbrushing. Oh, that's pure job security right there. I may have airbrushed like one cake a week, and that would be a stretch at that, but no one else knew how to use the airbrush gun. No one
Yeah.
knew how to clean it. Nobody knew how to like, like, oh, let's go multiple colors. Or no one knew how to put glitter through it correctly without it being clogged. Like
Yeah.
it's like the knowing this, it's holding the knowledge pen. Let's put
Mm.
it that way. And it's the best job security.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, I got a couple more questions. Advice would you give anybody who wants to join the circus?
The circus. I mean, it's fun. I just feel like you can't, you have to be able to say no to people because if you can't say no to people, then it's just And I had like that was my biggest problem at first. Like I would just Aaron was like, you want to go here? Yeah. You want to go here? Yeah. You want to go here? Yeah. And then like going through school, that didn't. I mean, I finished, but like I didn't do that well, because I didn't really care, and I like I my that was my that was my focus was spending time with people because I thought like and you think those people are cool, like you can get anything you want, like have lots of fun, like live this super cool fun party life, and then like it is fun for a period of time,
Yeah.
but like if you know that you're someone who can't be around something like that, then it's just not the place for you because it'll always be around. So
Yes.
if you can't stop yourself from interacting with drugs and alcohol or um even just like sexual things of that nature, to be perfectly honest with you, like it's just not going to be a healthy place for you. Like it wasn't a healthy place for me for a time, and like I went to therapy to figure out more of like my issues and um what was like triggering for me. And
Hmm.
so I'm able to stay there. Like I make good money at the place I am, and I work for a local place. Like they're super nice. They do more than most American jobs do when I went on maternity leave, you know.
Hmm.
Uh I get to be creative, I get to come up with specials and things like that, so like I do have perks to the job. Sometimes you don't get that, and I've had to work my way up for a long time. That's another shitty part of it, is it's just you've got to be willing to like work at something.
Yep.
Like you're not gonna be able to go anywhere and have somebody be like, oh, you did this back in here, like cool. Everyone's gonna be like, nope, we don't care. Like
Yep.
we
We don't
want we
care. You're
do.
you're here now and you're gonna do this. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah. So yeah, it's having a thick skin. And just like not letting people push you around. I think that was when like it kind of like turned for me. It was like people realized that they couldn't say whatever they wanted to say to me, or I would say something back, or
Mhm.
things like that. Like you just gotta stand up for yourself, especially if you're a female. Like it's hard. There's not. I mean, I'm the only one that stayed for an extended period of time. We have some that come, and we had one girl that for a really long time, and she moved to Florida with her girlfriend, and I was like, no, Tony, why? Like she was my homie, and I was like, why are you leaving?
Mhm.
Because you don't see very many females come through a lot, but yeah. So just have a thick skin and know that like if somebody really is like malicious to you, then just leave.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people say things in a harsh way, and like vocabulary is really harsh, and there's a lot of curse words and things like that. But like now my friends and I do it in like a point of joking, like
Mhm.
like it's that's just how we are. But it can be rough, but it can also be a lot of fun. So
I definitely think that's really good advice. Your advice is like, there's still hope. My advice is like, don't go to culinary school if you think you're gonna run a restaurant in 5 years. That's like the
oh,
furthest.
uh, like people ask me if I want to run my own restaurant. I was like, I don't think I do. Like if they ask me later in my life if I wanted to like buy into the restaurant I work at now, like maybe, but running your own thing, you got to deal with people, and
Mhm.
like you got to be a social media manager for everything on top of that, because like people write reviews about whatever and say that they got food poisoning from your restaurant even though they may not have, or whatever. Like you literally just don't. I mean, it's just one of those industries that people like to hate on a lot, and so if you
Yes.
can't handle that, then it's going to be really hard. Yeah.
I could not agree more. And final fun advice, this is more of a chef one, is if you're going to a restaurant on a Sunday and they have a seafood special, my friends, that is the seafood that did not sell on the weekend.
Push the fish, it's about to turn.
Push the fish, it's about to turn. I definitely think that is the best way to end this podcast. I was literally saying that to Jason because at the place near our house, it's a fun bar, and they have like cheap lobster rolls on Sundays. I was like, yeah, baby, because they got to push the fish because it's going to turn. And he's like, what? I was like, this is leftover fish from all weekend. They need to get rid of it. It's going to turn. And he's like, should I not eat it? I'm like, eat at your own risk. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to tell.
Yeah, like if people for some reason, if you ever find out where I work and you come there, but like you could pay attention. Like if we run something as a special on one side, you bet your money later on in the week the same sauce or the same slaw is going to be on something else on the other side later on in the week. If it's or if we shrimp on one side and we don't run out of it the next day, guess where the shrimp goes? Yep.
Yep. Well, I want to thank you, Tattooed Simmer, for coming back here today. Where can we find you? Where can we find your amazing work?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube, Tattooed Simmer, and Threads now on that. So yeah,
I like it. I actually like Threads.
I do.
It's like fun Twitter. It's just I know what nobody knows how long this is gonna last or how long it's gonna work. So they're just like enjoying it for the moment. Hey, I'm just like I'm almost up to like 700 followers on Twitter or Threads, and I was like, how? I
Yeah,
post like nothing of like original content, but I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I'll take it.
It's fun. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
Right. Well, Tattooed Simmer, thank you so much for coming back here today. I hope if you listen to this, you learn a little bit more what it's like to be in the food industry. I wish someone would have sat me down and like really explained to me like what the food industry was like before like me going off to culinary school, because I thought like, oh, I was in a culinary school, like I was gonna get instant respect. Actually, if anybody, you get the least amount of respect saying you've gone to culinary school because they're like, oh, they're one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I at the end I was just like, hi, I'm just here. But
Yeah.
no, cooking is fun to an extent, but it is the people you work with that make your experience the best. It is not the food, and it is
Yeah.
definitely not management. I don't think
No.
I've ever worked for good management in a restaurant. I don't think so. There's always one dickhead boss or dickhead manager, like always.
Yeah.
And definitely customers. Oh, they're like, oh, I found this like really long blonde hair in my food. I'm like, it's fucking clearly yours because you have the fucking Khaleesi of hair, and everyone in the
Yeah.
back is a fucking male that has a
Yeah.
beard guard on. Like, it's not. And I'd be like, oh, take a look, and we just remake it. They wouldn't. We would literally just bring it back. Like, oh, it's remade,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
yeah, 100%. Or I'd be like, man, this person just wants to get fucking spit in their water. Like, Jesus Christ. Or, okay. Oh, final thing. For initiation from a lot of restaurants I work in, did you ever give anybody vinegar water instead of normal water? Were you cruel?
No, our favorite thing to do is we have like a permanent hot water thing for tea.
Okay, yeah.
But tell people to empty the hot tea machine, the water from the tea machine. So
Yep.
we'll take pictures and go like pour like pitchers and pitchers of hot tea out of this tea machine, and it never stops. It's always boiling hot. So it just like we just like to see how long they stand there and pour water for no reason.
Oh
Till
my
they,
God.
how long is this going to be hot? How big is this tank? We're like, it's endless, homie. Keep
Yeah.
pouring.
For us, it was vinegar water. Anybody new, it'd be like, oh man, like I just need a water, and then like you would it would literally just be like water with vinegar. It'd be vinegar water. That is a huge thing for us. Is like vinegar water. Well, anyways, tattoos are absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming here and sharing your knowledge of what it's like to work in the food industry. I hope
Yeah,
you stay in if you want to stay in, or you can join me on the other side. Which I mean, it's the place I work for is just as toxic. I would equivalent it to like food without food. Like the fire industry, that's a true fucking cult because it's very niche of like fire prevention.
uh-huh.
Holy fuck. It's like I'm like the black sheep because I don't care enough to care. Um but yeah, it's something else. But anyways, Tattooed Summer, thank you so much for coming back here today. Please go check out Tattooed Summer and all the amazing work you do, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.